Alright, howdy folks, welcome back to Top Comics Pressing. This video we're going to kick off a case study here on everybody's incredibly favorite comic book, The Incredible Hulk number 181. This one is coming to us with a older CGC 7.0 label. Right off the bat you'll notice that the book has a considerable yellow tinge to it, which is probably consistent with the off-white pages. The other thing that you'll notice is it does not look like it was appropriately cleaned, so there's a good amount of dirt there. You can see that there's a solid amount of dirt right in the Hulk and along there, and then if you flip it on over, there's a good amount of dirt across the back right in there as well as up over here, and so there's plenty of patches. There's also some patches of light foxing across the back here and up over there, and so we're going to end up cracking this one. The owner already told me they want it pulling on out and giving the Top Comics treatment. That being said, we can look right there and tell it probably was not pressed either, because that looks like a very light stacking curl, but there are some non-pressable defects that'll hold the grade down. So there is a color break crease right along there. There is a second crease that I thought I saw right through here, so you can see that there's a little bit of a color break right there. And where was the other one? It must have been on the back. Yeah, I bet you there's right there to match the corner on the front. You can see a little bit, and then there's a little bit down here. Now, hopefully most of that will end up pressing out. If we need to give it a little hit of an iron, we will. But that's kind of the dealio. Yeah, and you can see that there's a little bit of a ripple in here that also indicates it probably was not pressed. So we're gonna give this thing a bust out. At the very least, these older slabs have kind of a disgusting bluish tinge to the plastic, and we're gonna give it a facelift just by getting it into a reholder. The other thing that's nice about these older slabs is they are cake to cut into, very easy to snap off. There we go. So that's going to be, try to keep my finger there and go one more down the front side. There we are. All right, so hopefully we'll be able to get this thing maybe up to an 8.0. Owner said if it comes back as 7.5, they'll be happy. So, I think that's going to probably limit us to at least an 8.5 would be my gut based on that. And hopefully that'll be the limiting defect here when busted on out. This one has a nice big seam here right across the top. So we're going to take that. And on these where the tag is part of the case, by the way, this is one of the versions of CGC slabs that I think this should go back to post reholder gate. It's pretty clear if you tamper with any of this, like you're gonna tear the tag or any of that. And because the tag is part of the same slab, you can't just swap a book into an older or into a different slab. You have to take the whole thing out, and if it's all sealed in one, I don't know why they haven't gone back to that design. To me it has more security because it's all one piece, but whatever, I don't run the show. Get our nice box cutter here. We're just going to try to make one big, deep, smooth cut right across. There we go. Go this way with it. Right across the corner. Perfect. Now this older slab, in addition to being quite blue, so again, if you slide that under there, you can just see how yellowed it is. So, definitely worth upgrading the slab just to make it a clearer plastic, because it definitely is not clear anymore. The other thing you want to be aware of is the plastic does not age as well, and so it will leave some sharper edges. The newer plastic is soft. The CBCS plastic is super soft, so I actually really, really like the inner wells of the CBCS slabs. I don't think that they pose any risk to scratching the comics or putting a little tear in them the way that the older CGC ones here do. Slide that straight out. There we go. Look for any micro chamber paper that's in there. There we go. Might be one under the front cover then. Bingo. Get those on out of there. And I'm going to put anything sharp away so I don't accidentally set this on a blade of any kind. But yeah, so right here is a pressable bend. You can kind of see right there. That corner crease we already kind of called out. Light soiling, I would say, throughout the book. Definitely has a light stacking curl, so if I go this way, it's not a miswrap or anything like that. It's just kind of a teardrop or a bend there right where it was sitting. So that means that a whole bunch of comics were stacked up, and eventually, because the staples get higher, it ends up curling a little bit around the staples. A little bit of light soiling. I think those creases there are going to be permanent when we're done pressing. To me, right there, you can kind of see it, and there's a second one right there. So those might not be pressable, and this might not either. We're ultimately going to give it the best shot by ironing it, but I think that there's a significant amount of light creasing here along the back. It's going to limit any opportunity for a grade increase very high. Yeah, so you can kind of see that one right there. And there's going to be some more up here, right in here. If I can get the camera to focus on it. Yeah, right there. So you can kind of see them. They're quite long. They're fine. We're going to have to iron those out and see what it looks like from there. Other than that, I think giving this one a good off-white pages seems fair. I've seen other ones come back with off-white white with a similar hue in there. I'm going to go ahead and stop the video, get some before pictures of this thing, and then we'll come on back and start our dry cleaning. All right, here we are back, and indeed there is a good amount of rippling here and a bunch on the back cover, so I'll show that to you as we get going here. We're going to start with our click eraser and our little micro eraser, and then here's my Mr. Clean Swiffer sheet. So I'm just going to start down here on the Windigo and just go lightly kind of over a bunch of that area. And again, if you're going light, you can go over color. If you use a lot of force or a lot of pressure, you will rub through the gloss and through the ink, and it'll be a very, very sad day. So I try to have kind of a sharpened, tip there and stroke mostly sideways, not pushing pressure down, but kind of side stroke. And that seems to do a pretty good job of lifting the dirt without going through and damaging ink and color. Again, it is time limited, so if you are going to spend, a bunch of time rubbing on the same spot, you will eventually rub through that gloss. We're going relatively quick like this. Now, if you have a bigger patch of white, we can add a little bit more pressure. One thing I typically do here on the open edge is put a backer board under there, just to make sure I'm not going to cause a crease along that edge. As much as possible, I try to go along an edge, not across it. Go. And with the slight speckling in that paper, that's just a sign of its age. And so we're not going to be able to get it 1000% clean, and that's not the point of dry cleaning. Dry cleaning, in my opinion, is a 95% sport. You're definitely not trying to get every microcosmic speck of dirt, because if you push it that hard and do that much cleaning, you will eventually damage a comic book. So I've tried to aim for the 95% mark. And that tends to have a very big impact, and I try to stop before I do any harm. Right along the black edge there, I'm going to go for the micro eraser. Lets me be a little bit more precise to make sure I'm not over rubbing the black. There is plenty of dirt in here to fight with. I thoroughly enjoyed the Deadpool 3 movie. It was great from the opening scene all the way to the epic conclusion. So after we're done dry cleaning this, I am going to give it our bled treatment. I'm probably going to just push it because it does have that off-white interior, so we're probably only going to do a little bit on it, just see if we can clear up some of that foxing. But we definitely don't want to overwhiten this one, as it does have an aged interior, so we want to make sure that we have a realistic look to it, given that great big H here in this Hulk. miswrap here. Again, a lot of people ask me to fix that as a spine roll, and again, that is on the staples clearly on the side, the staples clearly on the side, and when we flip it over, there isn't open pages showing. So the little bit of white here that's up top rolled onto the front is a miswrap. The cover was just attached slightly crooked. There's nothing you can do about it, so don't ask me to fix it. If you unfolded the book and refolded it right on that black line, you'd end up with the pages all splayed out funny, because you'd be taking something that's already square and you'd be making it offset, and so it would look really dumb. So please, before you send me a book asking me to fix the spine roll, please just check and make sure it's a spine roll, not a miswrap. I get about one of those a week. I have a whole video on it, so if you search miswrap or spine roll on the channel, it should pop up. Look at how nice that 25-cent logo box looks now. Got all that crud out of it. It's so wonderful. Okay, that's going to be about it on the front. We hit the Wendigo, we hit Wolverine's claws, we got the big swipe by the Hulk, we did the Hulk box, logo, spine. That's about it there. Flip that on over. When I pick these books up, I'm doing it center of the book and about an inch in off the spine with very light pressure. And it's nice and balanced. All right, I love going down the rear spine of a comic book. That's the #1 spot. You can tell if it's been cleaned. Usually there's always dirt there, and again, it's the fault of the staples being physically fatter than the rest of the book that makes sure that that area rubs up against stuff and collects all that dirt across the decades. So almost always the case. Be very careful around the corners. And if you're new to the channel, I'm using the left hand with my finger and my thumb to apply light pressure to the comic book to try to mitigate any risk of lifting up stuff, and I'm always going to go with the edge of the book. Again, so I'm going across an edge, never against it, if at all possible. And you'll notice my eraser is probably at about a 45-degree angle. Again, I'm just rotating it over. Light pressure. A little bit of a crease down there on the bottom, so be very careful there. Corners, I can use the Mr. Clean eraser sheet. This one's not too bad, so we'll probably just use a light eraser over it. Now the text, we can give a very light rub across on a book of this era. You don't want to do that from Silver Age books from 61, 62, 63. By the time they get to 64, 65 and beyond, they tend to be okay. Cautious there on the edge. Okay. Up here on the top. Now this yellow doesn't look like it has a lot of dirt on it, so I'm going to leave the yellow. Some of my other videos, you'll notice I go to the Mr. Clean eraser sheet over that area. We're not going to do that here. More risk, no reward. Pretty clear, do not proceed. Nice and slow around the corner. Plenty of light dirt. This is a little bit heavier of a fingerprint right near that foxing. Fingerprints, you know, you see people post all the time online and being angry that their cleaner and presser didn't get the fingerprints out. Fingerprints can be a lot of different things. Light fingerprints off the surface of a modern book with thick gloss, yeah, no problem. Older books, sometimes you can either dry clean it off or wet wipe it off. Sometimes, though, it is through ink, where it's a big black gob on color that does not come out without removing ink around it. So it's one of those defects that it really depends on what the book is and what the fingerprint looks like if you want to be able to remove it. I don't know why, but a disproportionate number of the G.I. Joe #1s I get have massive fingerprints on the back. I would say that's easily the most common book I get with big greasy fingerprints on the back. I'll assume people were repairing their battle tanks while they were reading their G.I. Joe #1. Almost done here. All we have to do is get down to the corner. That's about where we stop. So there we go. Now I'm going to hold this up under the light so you can see some of the light creasing I was talking about. That I think I saw through the slab, and there's more of it back here than I thought. So if I hold this on up and get my hand under there, right here you can see that there's a spot right there. Over here, you can definitely see it, and then right along that back edge where it's pretty clear, there's a bunch on the bottom along with the light foxing, and then down here there's actually quite a bit of bending that I didn't appreciate. You can kind of see it all right in there. So we're going to come back and iron this beast, but before I iron it, I'm going to do the bled treatment, and the reason for that is the bled treatment is going to expose it to more humidity, and I want to make sure that that humidity does not, here might be one of the other creases I was looking for. You can kind of see it just barely there in that front corner. There. I want to make sure that humidity doesn't screw with the iron, and so this one's going to get some bled treatment first. So we'll come on back and look at it after that. All right, howdy folks. Here we are after our blue LED treatment. So, you know, we've got a nice healthier white color there on the front cover. Again, it's not blastingly white. It still has kind of a natural cream for the era. And if we flip it on over, you can see that the foxing up top and along that back edge there looks a lot better. And what we're going to do now is just hit it with a quick ironing. And so I have my Hanger 9 iron right here, kind of set at that 2 dial. I've got a magazine backer board. It's sitting currently on some SRP paper, and we're going to slide one sheet of SRP paper gently under that cover all the way into the spine, and then underneath that we're going to put the magazine backer board, just using that SRP paper to make sure that it's not sticking to the cover. And we're just gently going to iron up a bunch of these patches here on the back that I'm pretty sure are genuine creasing, but we're going to give it our best shot here to try to clear some of that. So I've got my parchment paper with a pre-wetted cotton round right here, and all we're going to do is kind of just gently rub over some of those areas, trying to keep that stack there under the cover without using too much force. I'm just gonna give it kind of a couple of quick rubs over. Not a whole lot of downward pressure, not a whole lot of force, just using that wet cotton round to humidify the parchment paper, generate a little bit of steam, and kind of steam it out just like you were ironing a t-shirt. You can tell I'm getting to the end of the roll. This is getting quite obnoxious with it wanting to curl on itself. There's not a whole lot to it other than a little bit of patience. Try not to have too much humidity on there. Don't use a lot of force. Don't rush. Make sure your temperature's not too high. That's about it. I feel it's about as good as we're going to be able to get that. Try to hit the top up here a little bit. This one I'm pretty sure is a true crease. True creases won't ever iron out, no matter how many times you iron them, how many times you press them. They are stuck for real. Alright, I think that's about all we're going to do on that. So not a ton of ironing. Hit that top corner. Hit the edge over here. Yeah, I'm going to take all this out and do the corner just real quick. A lot better. I think this area will clear out fully. I don't think anybody will be able to detect anything there. I think some of the vertical creasing is going to be detectable. There's a little bit up top. Definitely that corner I think is going to be permanent. Anyway, so that's where we are at with this. Stay tuned for a look after a final press. We're going to cook this one just like we would normally do a Hulk 181, 15 minutes at 155 degrees C. We're going to magazine backerboard, centerfold, cardstock under front and back cover, medium pressure. Cross our fingers and hope. All right, here we are with the send-off. Look at this incredible copy of the Incredible Hulk number 181. This one looks a whole lot sharper. The back looks a whole lot better. I took a bunch of pictures for Instagram and Facebook. Unfortunately, those creases on the back have just the slightest hairline if you hit it just in the right spot in the rake and glare. So we'll see what CGC says. But regardless, this book now looks a whole heck of a lot better. As I always do for mega keys like this, I'm going to take that Silver Age fullback Mylar. We're going to stick it inside of a Golden Age fullback Mylar so that if anything hits this, it'll hit that bigger bag sticking on out. And we'll go ahead and slap some tape on the back of this, and we'll go ahead and call it a wrap. And so this is only going to look like mere seconds to you, but to me it'll be, you know, weeks, if not a month, before I find out how this thing shakes at CGC. So I'll encourage you to, you know, bite your nails for me while we wait. Also, while you're waiting, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit a thumbs up and a like on the video, drop a comment down below, and don't forget to search out the before and after pictures on Facebook and Instagram. All right, true believers, the jury at CGC has now returned a verdict on this copy of The Incredible Hulk number 181. This is previously a CGC 7.0 with off-white pages. It is now being returned to the owner in a very gorgeous 8.0 copy with a wonderful McFarlane custom label, and most notably, it now says white pages up there. And so that is an astounding bump. And, you know, there are always skeptics that think people are just switching out books or taking random scans of ones. This one in particular has a very distinct miswrap pattern, and so if you go look along that spine, you'll be able to match that miswrap angle with the original pictures while it was in the slab, and it also has a very distinctive corner crease up there in that top corner. And so both those are pretty unique thumbprints to indicate that this is unambiguously the same copy of The Incredible Hulk number 181. One thing I do want to point out though is it was previously off-white pages, and now it is getting white pages. I take careful attention to make sure the inner wraps are never whitened during my process, because it's kind of a mess if you partially whiten one wrap and don't quite even it out. And it's also insanely time-consuming. And so that difference between off-white pages to white pages is all subjective by the CGC grader. There's nothing I did to actually whiten or bleach those interior wraps at all. And so I've said it before and I'll say it again, in my opinion, the page quality ranking by CGC is quite irreproducible and is objectively awful in terms of its quality control and reliability. And so as much as I would love as a collector to put a premium on white page books, I absolutely never do that, because I don't actually trust that the white pages are truly white on the inside because of the inconsistency with CGC grading. And I think that this one's pretty incredible example of that, going from off-white pages to white pages without anything actually being done on the interior wraps. And so take that for what it is. This one turned out fantastic for the owner, and so I couldn't be more excited. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up on the video. Smash that subscribe button down below. Hulk smash subscribe. Hulk smash subscribe. And be sure to keep on collecting what you enjoy. So take care here from Top Comics Pressing.